Hello friends, Anderson here, welcome back to Kiltan Rats Plays Ironsworn, Chapter 2, Episode 13. This is now the point where this chapter runs longer than the previous one, but it's also a lot more complicated than the previous one. And it's not getting any easier. Last time we have become tormented, acquired a vow to save the world from the returning elders, and none of that matters right now, because we still have to stop Ursula first from doing horrible things to this region and bringing nightmarish things into this world. And we also have to find Asha and keep her safe, if at all possible, or we have to kind of abandon that vow and make Asha go away alongside her father. I don't have a huge amount of recording time this week, so this episode might end up somewhat shorter and end more abruptly, because once the doorbell rings, I have to be off like a shot, but we'll still get a recording session in and an episode in, and if it ends, it ends. Anyway, we ended our really nightmarish previous session on a very positive note. Comparatively, we rolled a positive match in a clearing of an elder tree where a Varu warren is underneath, and it's a destroyed hideaway, and there is currently a Varu scout named Vata digging to get to the ones that are either trapped within, or to find out what happened to them. We don't really know yet whether there are even any Varu in there or not, but we just know there is this scout out there and it's a positive match, so we have to somehow turn this encounter also into a extra beneficial advantage for Kynan. And to kick things off, we want to know at least two more things about Vata, which are his character descriptors. So let's roll up some character descriptors for our potential new friend. 71 stealthy, well that is very on brand again. It just doesn't help him at the moment because he's very obviously openly digging. 49, charming. Okay, interesting combination. Anyway, Kynan, his spirit still crushed. The only thing keeping him from snapping or losing it completely, this single-mindedness, this stubborn focus on his vows, the thing that has kept him from completely going off the rails for the majority of his life. The one thing he respects are his vows, and right now they fuel him to just keep going and set one foot before the other. And now entering this outcropping, this clearing under the towering elder tree, seeing this distraught humanoid, this wolf man with a long groomed mane with various braids intricately woven in with little charms of thread and bone and plant adorning this glorious mass of hair. And Kynan remembers what the elf gave him, this passage approval token for the ambassador that he is technically. And since Kynan has dealt with Firstborn before, he understands the territorial nature of the Varu, and he makes sure that this thing is immediately visible, because otherwise he will be perceived as an intruder, and that's not going to end too well for him in his current state. But the behavior of the Varu puzzles him to some extent. He also gets what's in front of him there. He sees this collapsed entrance under the parting massive roots of this elder tree. He knows Varu sometimes live in underground warrens, and they do hold these elder trees sacred in particular. So Kynan gets the idea that something has collapsed there, and that this distraught Varu in front of him is trying to dig somewhat ineffectively, and finding himself very short on company and friends and all around hopeless, and still very much lacking a clear idea of how he's going to ever get anything accomplished here. Kynan does welcome the, well, for lack of a better term, distraction of having somebody else's problem in front of him for a change. And he, mainly out of the motivation of being able to do something simple that makes sense, he just wordlessly steps in there, and as the Varu, as Vata whirls around and raises a claw, and as the yellow eyes at the same time zoom in on that token that Kynan is visibly carrying. He just falls in next to Vata and just lifts his chin in a greeting and starts grabbing the edge of a clay-covered rocky boulder and starts pulling and basically gives Vata a look of, well, what are you waiting for? I do want to figure out whether Vata actually speaks a common language with Kynan, because I don't think that's something we can just take for granted. I do think based on the die result they have an ability to communicate by signaling and just most basic fragments of conversation that might be understood, but complex exchanges, I'm not sure. So let's tag the old 50-50 on it. 51 plus, Vata actually is able to converse with Kynan, and anything below, it's just basic vocabulary. 21, that's not going to be a very philosophical conversation, so all we get is human help. And then they're off digging and pulling and definitely making quicker work of this than Vata could have accomplished on his own, because it's a two-person job at least. And before long they open it up at least wide enough for a small hole to indicate that they've made it to the other side and have lifted most of the rubble that was blocking entry. And now we kind of need to work out what actually happened here. So out of the variety of options, I'm not sure if we just list a couple and then narrow it down with a die roll, or whether we should go for an oracle. Let's look at the narrative situation right now. What could have happened here? Well, first off, it could have been an attack and something went awry and this whole structure collapsed. It could have also been abandoned and the former inhabitants fled and collapsed it behind them. Or it could have been some kind of reverse scenario, and that's something I just thought of maybe, as happened in Redcrest, where while the Red Crestians were locking up their infected, since they also didn't understand this situation they were in too well, I feel like the Varu are more in tune with what is actually going on there and with Arsula and everything surrounding him. So maybe the Varu sealed themselves off once they realized that the overwhelming majority of them had become infected by this resurgence of the magical plague that already ravaged their ancestors, some of whom may even still be alive. So it could also be a scenario where they collapsed it in on themselves to let the disease run its course, basically having the whole warren go insane and fall on each other, but at least they keep it contained to the inside. I feel like maybe some generic oracle prompts will help us narrow it down, because it's quite a variety of possible scenarios, so I'm just gonna do action and theme, see where it takes us. 77 is secure. 22 is solution. Okay, well, that is a bit like shooting an arrow in a tree and then painting a circle around it, but if I think of the term solution and secure, then I do kind of fall on that preferred scenario of mine where some of the Varu, realizing they were infected and beyond saving and not wanting to have this spread to other warrens nearby, decided to sacrifice their warren and lock themselves in. Question is, are they all dead, or is there now currently a raging Varu party in the roots of the Elder Tree? Since it's a positive development for Kynan, let's make it unlikely that there is a whole bunch of infected raging Varu now about to pour out. So 76 or greater, we will have some survivors. 54, that seems to have run its course, which would indicate that now that they have made that first opening, they also already get that waft of decay coming at them, which immediately sets Vata snarling, and I don't think he's showing a lot of his charming side at the moment, with his scowl and his ears twitching, very tense, just increasing his efforts, just ripping at the soil around him. And before long they have a wide enough opening for Vata to just squeeze himself inside and rush and disappear from Kynan's view, who doesn't quite know what he's supposed to do now. On the one hand, there is his new ally. On the other hand, they are quite territorial, so does he really want to just walk in there? I think from Kynan's perspective, he doesn't have much to gain by following, so he's going to lean himself against the cool earth of the descent into the roots and wait for Vata to come back out again. So Kynan takes a breather as slowly the light around him already starts turning orange, and Vata eventually returns, a lot slower and a lot less tense than before, but quite obviously dejected. And now as for the positive development out of all of this, I do believe that what makes the most sense for me right now, from Kynan's perspective as well, in considering what assistance he might need right now, it would probably be a very positive development for him if Vata were to now look at him, acknowledge him, and simply tell him to follow. Because he does understand that Kynan has some connection to the situation here. It's no coincidence he shows up with the symbol that the elves have been provided with for sort of in case of emergency, break glass and take thing out. And as a scout, he's not the one that should have that conversation, not that he even can. So Vata will now try and escort Kynan to his own warren and introduce him to his own elders. So we have an opening now to make the connection to the uncorrupted Varu in the Elderbriar in Ameshki. Question is anything happening on the way? So we still should treat this as part of the delve, and so make a delve move, because we keep going deeper into the Elderbriar. And I think for a change we can actually now, between Vata and Kynan, do this with Shadow, since they're both sneaky types, and presumably for Vata you will just start out that way, creeping back through the woodlands around the elder tree, and Kynan, realizing he's finally in the presence of someone who doesn't make a huge amount of noise when they traverse, will also make his best sneaky moves, and between the two of them they'll be very hard to spot. So we're gonna do a delve with Shadow for a change. Wow. 2 + 4 is 6. What did we roll? Double 6? Well, that would seem to be a negative match then. Okay, we reveal a danger, and now we have a friend to drag into this mess. 81. You face the consequences of an earlier choice or approach. What? We haven't actually been behaving too terribly here. We just walked into a gloom and had a bad time. There's sort of fear and loathing in Ameshki right now. We killed a troll, but that was more putting it out of its misery. I don't really feel like we have a strong connection point here. We haven't really made much of a choice that could backfire on us in such a way. I think I'm gonna flip this into an 18 and check the theme card. Question is which one? 1 to 3 is corrupted and 4 to 6 is wild. Okay, that's the wild. And it would be Denizen protects something. What kind of Denizen is this? 94. That, according to our matrix, is a circle of stones protecting something. That needs to be a wide sort of interpretation, I think. I'm not 100% positive on what the circle of stones is, so let's have a gander at that. It's a scene challenge, a dangerous one. Ancient stones etched with mysterious symbols, whispers of old magic, visions of hoarded memories. Oh my god, the fear and loathing continues. Preserve age-old secrets, so it protects some things. So it could be protecting some old secret. Tactics. Trap the unwary and lure the desperate, extract painful memories and grant knowledge for a price. Okay. I will read this whole passage now and figure out what the hell is going on. I think we should also roll action and theme to find out what kind of protected something this is, and also what this negative match consequence is, because that might be very well related. 49 defy? 26 barrier. I'm thinking of two things now, reading the description of the Circle of Stone and looking at this Oracle prompt of defy barrier. One is, we started off Kynan already with a memory lapse, so maybe this isn't his first time coming into contact with a circle like this. Another is that the description says they're ancient, crafted long before we settled here, so that makes them again have some tangible connection to our either precursors or to the broken. I feel like probably, since it's a bit more crude than I imagine the precursor primordial first sentience to be that built the star chambers, maybe this is something that the broken crafted before they completely devolved into mindless cannibals, basically. And the barrier thing makes me think that it has something to do with keeping the elders, the primordials, the true rulers of the Ironlands out and away. So maybe the stones, will recognize Kynan, because they already took some of his memories away, all the way in the north when he was tangling with the fallout of what Kaladas had caused, and that's also the reason he doesn't fully remember the whole sequence of events. And B, they will know something about how to keep the elders out, because this is the secret that the old broken shamans stored away between those stones to make sure it's still accessible to a knowledgeable mystic who can barter with the stones should it ever become necessary again. The question now is, how does Kynan end up in the stones? Because he has Vata with him. We assume Vata knows the territory, but I think it could be as simple as Kynan has had a bit of a long day. He's tired, he's dispirited, and he's lagging behind a bit. And Vata is, well, conscious that Kynan is there and tries to account for it, and occasionally when he notices Kynan isn't too close anymore, stops and signals for him to, speed up, you laggardly human. But this is one of those moments where Vata has moved too far ahead. Kynan is following his tracks, and due to his exhaustion, his tiredness, his dispiritedness, just slips on a slope that Vata is effortlessly on four limbs moving along. And as Kynan slips and rolls, he picks up more and more momentum and tumbles and rolls into a standing pool of water. And as he struggles to his feet, he can see the mist pool around his feet, that low pool of water with like an elevated little, very small, just like 1.5 meters across island. And he has just enough time to register the looming shapes arranged in a circle around the edge of the water of this small pool that he fell into, tumbling down the slope, that he already feels this intrusion into his thoughts, and he gets flashes of memory again, all jumbled up, mixed up. Now that he's back in the circle, also remembering some fragments of what happened around the time that Siora died, but mostly just getting that feeling again of being watched by timeless eyes across the span of eons of these elder beings locked away somewhere that are almost like gods that elevated themselves to the stars but somehow messed it up and locked themselves out of the plane of existence that they wanted to govern and rule, and now try to use Kaladas to come back. And maybe that's the negative match, that's the contest now, that on the one hand the stones themselves have the knowledge to keep the elders out and to protect that knowledge, but at the same time they are also they also form a connection to the elders, and Kynan himself now, with the affliction that he has, with his burden, with his torment, carries their attention into this circle and facilitates that now the elders gain an understanding through Kynan of how they can escape more easily. So the negative match is basically Kynan is now, through his tormented affliction, carrying some subconscious opening with him for the elders from beyond the void to try and get at the knowledge of how to defy the barrier that the broken have figured out. Maybe the broken, before they broke, were also instrumental in finally banishing these no longer quite mortal elders that became the star gods. And so there's like a mix-up now between the Circle of Stones as a knowledge font for the broken shamans, and at the same time as a backdoor for the elders to use Kynan to now figure that knowledge out. So as we tumble and land in the circle, we have to create a scene challenge, a dangerous one, which is the Circle of Stones. And this is probably some kind of battle of wits then, in Kynan trying to keep his focus and maintaining a hold of his memories, as the Circle of Stones is sort of shuffling his memories around and, you know, was this your card? Where's your card? So sort of Kynan trying to keep a grasp on what memory currently is trying to escape him, while being confronted with way too many images to parse. So let's have a face danger, as this is a scene challenge. Oh, and I think to reflect the negative match, we are already one countdown down, since that will make it more likely for the elders to, if we fail this scene challenge, to get that knowledge from the circle, while at the same time sacrificing some of Kynan's memories to distract the circle. Anyway, face danger. That is a success. That is a strong hit. We get a momentum. We mark 2 progress. And we envision, well, what exactly? We envision Kynan managing to hold on to some treasured memory that the circle is trying to extract from him. The circle is after new knowledge, so it has to be something Kynan is particularly in the know of, and I think maybe this is now this whole episode with the grave of Etana and the switch of Etana no longer being locked in there and Shona being the new white in there. So Kynan relives this memory, but instead of losing the memory, he actually takes heart from the memory. He finds comfort in the memory of running back that scene of Etana turning to her last dawn and crumbling, her duty fulfilled. Maybe even longing for something similar for him now that he's tired and weary of all of this. And practically speaking, also Kynan is trying to see through that distraction of constantly being bombarded with a cascade of memories, and tries to focus on the here and now and tries to find a direction to stumble in to get out of this circle. And we face danger again. Another one. Okay, in all of this misfortune, now the rolls are kind of godly. So we get another momentum. We make some more progress on our Circle of Stones escape attempt, and we make some more progress physically towards the edge of the circle, even though Kynan loses sense of time and the memory flood, and the attempt to just extract knowledge from him is almost making him forget that he actually has a physical body and existence to take care of. And so now the images rushing through him, he catches a brief glimpse of that other Circle of Stones that successfully took some memories away from him before he collapsed and was somehow ended up on that ship that then shipwrecked at the broken shores near Stone Ridge. And he again senses also in that northern scenario that connection to the old ones, the elders, and maybe he gets a first idea of how deeply set all of this was with Kaladas, and that this is all just part of a much larger scheme, and not that he already suspected as much, but now he realizes that this is not just about steering Vigo of Summer Song to conquer the Ironlands. This is just even this unprecedented conquering petty king is just another tool in Kaladas's toolbox to bring back these elder beings. And of course, while that terrifies Kynan, it also jolts him to action, and he takes a few more steps. a weak one. Okay, but still 1. So 1 mark on the countdown. 2 more progress. And we pay a price. If this isn't endure stress, I don't know what it is. So with 0 spirit, this is going to be great if we miss. So let's not miss. Oh, and we also suffer minus momentum for the spirit we don't have. So back down to 1 we go. A weak hit. We press on. We don't lose our minds or lose more of our minds. We face danger again. That's another weak hit. Makes us 8 progress and almost fills up the countdown, and we lose another point of momentum for the spirit we don't have, and we endure stress again. That is another weak hit. So we press on, and we envision that Kynan probably at this point does lose some minor fragments of memories, but it's more like he's going to now have forgotten some names of former companions that joined him in the north. He may not remember anymore that he's carrying Finnr's sword. He just knows, like, what was that guy whose sword like the guy I found on the beach? And then, you know, maybe that'll make him aware somewhere in the future that some shadiness happened, but he's holding on to most of what matters, and I think he's now going to try to escape this circle by making the progress roll, and hopefully we manage to roll anything that isn't an 8 or higher. A 5 and a 1. Success. We achieve our goal unconditionally, meaning as Kynan stumbles closer and closer to the stones, a fur-covered arm shoots out, grabs him by his wrist and pulls him out of the circle. And the only commentary he gets is foolish. And foolish as he is, he can't argue with that, and they carry on. So out of the circle, and we delve once more, and as soon as we make some progress on the delve, maybe we arrive at Vata's Warren. Holy smokes, okay. Now is a positive match again. What is going on? Okay, so... okay, positive match. Meaning for a delve roll at least, we strong hit, find an opportunity, 1 progress on the delve. Opportunity is 97. You encounter a denizen who might support you. Okay, considering we are arriving at the warren of Vata's subfamily of the Get of Radka now, maybe we have a Varu here who is able to speak with us, who is able to support us. Maybe it's a shaman who can heal our spirits to some extent, because that's honestly what we're really lacking at the moment besides momentum. And we can also take 1 momentum out of the opportunity. So we have an opportunity here. We have another match. We need to figure out the positive implications. We know there's a denizen here that can support us. We have made it to almost safety, I think, now with 2 Varu allies, and we can maybe count on Vata's family, Vata's Warren, to help us figure this out. Maybe we can even leverage them to help us reach Arsula's prison. And we are, since now the doorbell rang, going to do this next time. So thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time, and bye for now.